We got a little bit more I'd like to go through. I'd like to quit at 9 o'clock, which is in about 25 minutes. So I'd like to go through just a little bit more here. So what I do is I do the corporate denial affidavit. That's the foundational, because all of this is corporate law. So I do the corporate denial affidavit. I've got a Word file that is available for anybody that wants it. But let me see if I can.
The lights back off, Glenn?
Yeah, that's probably a good idea.
Lights.
Not today.
Turn the lights off, please. Thank you.
Yeah, we're going to try and end this thing at 9 o'clock, which is in like half hour. So just want to go through a little bit here. So this is my corporate denial affidavit. It's 20 pages, but you could shrink it down. But so one of the things that if you look here, this is Texas code. You don't have to worry about that. But right here, failure of any adverse party to deny under oath the allegation that party is a corporation dispenses with the necessity of proof of that fact. So they presume you're a corporation, and if you don't deny under oath that you aren't a corporation, then you are. And when the complainant is lodged by the government for a fine, fee, or tax, all of which are revenue, they're imposed only on corporations. And that's a U.S. Supreme Court case. If a respondent is not a corporation, he cannot appear and plead. So it's a catch. It's a catch-22, because when you appear, then they presume you're a corporation, because if you're not a corporation, you can't appear. You see what I'm saying? And then if you don't appear, they issue a warrant. You see what I'm saying? It's a catch-22.
You appear specially?
Yeah, well, that's what I do. Is I tell them I'm here by special appearance. I don't give you jurisdiction. I didn't give you jurisdiction from the beginning. And if they enter a plea without me, then time for a notice of void judgment. I start filing notice of void judgment and start making life miserable for them. Yes.
Well, I was also understanding that corporations require an attorney to speak for them. Under law.
Yeah.
So how can they have it both ways?
So the prosecutor represents them. That's why you go after the prosecutor's the guy you have to go after. Sure he does. He represents everybody. Anyways, then the next thing I have, there's a bunch of stuff in here, and you may or may not want it, but I talk about zip codes. But here's the statement of original status right here. Here's some court cases that talk about state citizen is immune from any and all government attacks and procedure absent contract. The rights of individuals are restricted only to the extent that they've been voluntarily surrendered by citizenship to the agencies of government. State citizens are the only ones living under free government whose rights are incapable of impairment by legislation or judicial decision. That's U.S. Supreme Court, Twining versus New Jersey. State citizenship is a vested substantial property right, and the state has no power to divest or impair these rights. So, anyways, so I basically, and what I did is I went and took all my family names out of here and put in John Henry, House of Doe, and again, you have to put down, if you're white, put down that you're white. Otherwise, I wouldn't put down anything. So black people can do this too. It wouldn't matter, because who knows who was sleeping with who in the 1700s? You know, really. There's a YouTube video I have with that's called about the Foreign Sovereign Immunity Act, where a guy by the name of Al Barcroft, he's dead now, but he goes through it and he talks about that, and he says that he can't tell you to swear under penalty of perjury that show that you have ancestry that was here way back when. But who's going to call you a liar? Because think about it. If someone's going to call you a liar, they have to have first-hand knowledge.
Yeah, you can't be there.
And they can't prove it either. You see what I'm saying? And then think about who you're dealing with. You're dealing with pirates, okay? They're literally pirates. They're thieves. They're trying to get you into their commercial transactions so they can steal your property or sell you into slavery. So think about it. Would you lie to a thief? If a thief comes up to you and says, have you got $10 million in your car and you had it, would you tell him you got it? I wouldn't. I'd lie to him in a heartbeat. So then, you know, I'm not saying to lie on an affidavit, but if it was me, I would in a heartbeat. But fortunately, I didn't have to because I had the ancestry. But so anybody could do it, no matter what race they are. All you need is one ancestor, and that goes back one line. And what I do is I have a pedigree chart. If you look at my corporate denial affidavit, I attached a pedigree chart. Let me pull up mine, my real one. Okay, this is the real one that's recorded. And this is another thing. You have to record it in the county. This is so powerful. Now, the county you're in won't record it, no problem. There's other counties that'll record it. I've gotten, if you have to, send it to me. I'll take it and get it recorded. Send it back to you. But it's got to be recorded. The reason you record it is because it becomes a government document. It's because judges have to give judicial notice to government documents. They cannot turn it over on its back and say, oh, I don't see anything here that's relevant. Okay? It's a government document. It becomes a government document. It becomes public policy. And so it is so powerful to record it.
Self-authenticating evidence.
Okay, here's the affidavit, or the pedigree chart. Here's my mother, right here. Here's my grandfather, right here. Here's my great-grandfather. My great-great-grandfather, 1838 born. My great-great-great-grandfather, 1808, right? But I got a whole bunch more here. I got my grandmother here. I got this Miles McGinnis McDowell and Acock, 1798, okay? I got all sorts of them here. And that's what I'm saying essentially is if you don't like one line, I got a whole bunch more you can pick from. And I got this, but I got this is my biggest line. Adam Winningham, 1781, James J. Winningham, 1756, William Winningham, 1732. And so it's like way back before. This one here is in Virginia County. This one's in Virginia Colony. This is North Carolina Colony. There's another one from Virginia Colony, North Carolina Colony, Tennessee Colony, Maryland. Actually, Tennessee. That's 1834. So that's the state of Tennessee. 1770. That's Maryland Colony. Anyways, so you attach a pedigree chart too. And especially if you have a bunch of them that you can, if you don't like one line, have another one. And you go and tell them your oath of office is to me. And I'm the one that wrote the Constitution by right of blood. And I'll tell you, that it's like big problem for them.
Okay, so I have a question.
Yeah.
Okay, so really what you're doing is you're going back and proving before it became a corporation. Right?
Sorry?
You're saying that you are a citizen, but you're a citizen for the corporation you're saying that you're taking yourself out of their system. Is that right?
No. No. What I'm doing is I'm showing that my ancestors wrote the Constitution. And there's maxims of law that say that, number one, that right of blood, let's find it here.
I remember that.
Okay, that right of blood, no civil law can impair right of blood, number one. And number two, that which is created can never be greater than that which created it. And so, if I wrote the Constitution, they can't tell me anything, okay? So it's still, I'm wanting lawful government, okay? Under the Constitution, I delegated certain power to the government. I want only that power, that's all they have. They hold only the power that I delegated. Otherwise, they don't have any other power. You see what I'm saying?
I'm not denying that whatsoever.
Okay.
What I'm trying to ask is when you say that you are, you're going back and you're saying your ancestors wrote the Constitution. Like, you're saying, like, my ancestors, they were here before you came. What are you saying? You're saying you were here when it occurred? You're saying what?
I'm saying they wrote the Constitution, so therefore, and by right of blood, so therefore there's none of their civil laws, which are color of law, have any meaning to me. They have to, it binds them to the actual Constitution. They can't, you know, the biggest problem with government nowadays is it's gone way beyond the scope of the Constitution. And so it basically puts them in the position that they can't do that with me. They can do it with other people because of presumptions and the military dictatorship and all the rest of it, but they can't do it with me. And they can't do it with anybody that does this. Now, that's assuming that we have the rule of law, and that's why I was going to show those other videos, because, and that's what Trump is trying to bring back, is the rule of law. And if even under the Obama administration, when all the judges in the Second Court of Appeals recused themselves, that was during the Obama administration, right? So just because Obama's a crook doesn't mean they're all crooks. And so there's still going to be good and honorable people there, but the longer that we have people like Obama, I mean, we had several presidents in a row that were just a bunch of crooks. And so it was gradually getting worse and worse and worse. And you know, so that's what you can expect to happen. So what I'm saying is that Trump is trying to reverse it, but it's not going to happen overnight. Yes, you had something you wanted to say?
I was going to say, well, two things. Well, one thing is that the way to explain what you're saying, what comes to me, is that you were in your ancestors because you're their DNA, their offspring, and you are their prodigy. That's your pedigree right there. So they are basically the ones that were the bosses, and the public servants were the servants. So you're claiming the status of the boss.
He's the same people.
You're the same people.
Standing on the shoulders.
Yeah, let me read this last...
Standing on the shoulders. Thank you, Doyle. That's the word I'm looking for.
Let me read this last paragraph. Maybe I'll go to my original one. It says, I affirm that I, Glenn Winningham, House of Fern, am of the Adamic race as a white Christian male. I do not now, nor would I ever voluntarily give up my unalienable, which means cannot be taken away, God-given, constitutionally secured Christian rights and responsibilities. For I, Glenn Winningham, House of Fern, have never knowingly given up my birthright as one of the direct descendants of the posterity, as is noted in the preamble of both the Arizona State Constitution, 1905, and the Constitution for the United States of America, 1788, and its Bill of Rights, 1791, and also designated in the Declaration of Independence, 1776, for and because my fifth great-grandparents, who were James J. House of Winningham and Sarah Nichols House of Winningham, whose grave sites and gravestones are clearly marked, and now serve as an at-law public notice of their once existence and their judicial power citizenship status, that which was passed on to me, Glenn Winningham, House of Fern, as an inheritance, for and because James J. House and Winningham was naturally given birth in the year 1756, living on the land now known as Prince George County in the Virginia colony, which is ultimately became Virginia State, a state in the Union States of America under the Articles of Confederation, 1781, and the Constitution for the Republic of the United States of America, anyways, this is like really powerful. And they can't, you put them in the position that they can't argue against it. You see, it's like, you know,
Very, very well done.
it's fatal to them.
So they,
And I gotta tell you, I didn't write this. I got this from someone, and I saw it, and I thought, oh man, this is good, I gotta keep it. And this is like most of my stuff. You know, I gotta tell you that most of my stuff is I got from someone else.
Yeah, can we get a copy of that?
I'll send you the Word file, sure.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
pretty cool.
Yeah, yeah, no problem, yeah, I'll send you the, well, I got this Word file right here is one that I have highlighted, and I have it available for, you know, anybody that I just email it to them, and plus it's on my website. If you go to my website, there's a page that has all sorts of free files, and that's amongst those free files. You just go there, download the file, it's that simple.
You say your website is on the business card?
No, it's not. My website is sovereigntyinternational.fyi. Sovereignty International, all one word, .fyi.
So do you use the gravesite and gravestone as an at-law public notice?
Yeah,
And the inheritance is the judicial power citizenship status?
yeah, exactly.
can you say that again?
Judicial power, if you go up here, the judicial power is the power to hear those matters which affect life, liberty, or property of citizens of the state. It's not U.S., state citizens. Matter of fact, there's court cases to say that government employees are not qualified to sit on a jury. And anybody with a social security number is a government employee, that's U.S. citizens. Okay, so it's essentially saying U.S. citizens. Now, and where do they get the jurors from? They get them from voter registration lists, okay? Voters registration lists are all U.S. citizens. They don't get jurors from anywhere but voter registration lists. You see what I'm saying? So you can pick apart a jury just by saying, who all here has a social security number? And it's Griffiths versus United States that says it's a U.S. Court of Appeals case in D.C. And it says that government employees aren't qualified to sit on a jury.
So they wouldn't be able to have a jury.
Well, that's a problem, isn't it?
That's a big problem.
Griffins versus, what was that?
What was the case again?
Let me find it.
Well, because they're registered voters, they violate the Sixth Amendment because they're supposed to be judged in a jury of their peers. Who are these registered voters?
Well, again, it's corporate law,
Right.
right? So they assume that unless you defeat it, but when you defeat it, like you have this recorded affidavit of corporate denial and you introduce it as evidence into the case by attaching it to an affidavit, now it's a problem for them.
You
See what I'm
file that
saying?
through the county records as a document, and then take a copy of it out and put it into a court case, or how do you do that?
Yeah, what I do when I file it in the county records, I tell them I'd like to get a certified copy right then and there. And you pay a little extra, but it's cheaper if you do it right then and there. And they send you a certified copy or give you one. Depends on which county. There's a county in Texas that I get them recorded in, no problem. And they'll mail it to you about a week later, so you'll have to pay extra for it. And it's quite expensive in Texas. But, you know, normally I just tell them, especially if they're going to give it back to me right then and there, I tell them, well, can you give me a certified copy too? And they usually they charge me just for the certification because I already got the original. You know, they just have to make a copy and give you certified. See what I'm saying?
Yeah, put a seal on it.
Yeah, right. Yeah. Here, I'll show you the certified certification. At least in Arizona, that's what it looks like right there. That's the certified. That's the certification right there. And so there's nothing on each page. Some counties have a stamp on each page, but not in Pinal County, Arizona.
So it doesn't matter that your lineage was originally, say, in Virginia colony, but you were born somewhere else, or by the same token, if you're born someplace but you currently live in another state, that doesn't matter.
No, it's by right of blood. So, I mean, you still got the same blood, right? Or did you get the blood from somebody else?
Right, but if your ancestors were part of one state, but you are living in another state.
I was born in Canada.
So it'd be irrelevant.
Huh?
It would be irrelevant.
It's irrelevant.
So where your blood,
Exactly.
where your blood comes from,
It's your blood.
where your blood comes
That's all that matters.
from. So
It's your blood.
Mhm.
I was born in Canada. That's the hearsay. I don't remember.
I like that part.
I've got a birth certificate that shows that my mother's American. It just says American too.
So where and how do we buy gold?
Gold?
Yeah.
Well, you can buy it. I buy it on eBay, but I have rules that I follow when I'm buying it. I buy it from coin dealers, from people on there that have like huge feedback scores, because there's a lot of counterfeit coins out there, so you got to be careful. Yeah, that's usually where I buy it. If I'm going to buy it, I'll buy it on eBay, but I wouldn't buy gold. I'd buy silver if I was you. Silver's going up way more as a percentage than gold. But it's up to you. I mean, you're the one that's buying it. Gold is expensive. The only advantage of gold is that it's compact. It doesn't take up much room. Silver's bulky, but silver's actually going to go beyond the price of gold, according to what some people are saying, and I think they're right. But, you know, at any rate, so
So you recommend
this,
selling it at that point?
what's that?
When silver gets above gold, then it would be a good time to sell it. Cash it out for gold.
Well, I don't know. I mean,
The Federal Reserve notes for it?
No, I'd say.
yeah, really. Yeah, sell it for what?
If it goes that high, you ought to cash it out and invest it in lead, but those shits about
That's-
that fan.
That's what I would be doing, is converting it into something.
Well, yeah.
Into gold, couldn't you?
What's that?
You could convert it into gold if it gets higher.
Well, if you wanted to, I suppose, but, and gold
Ultimately.
gold has its uses. I mean, it's not just for money, but they're actually, from what they're saying, is that they're going to quit using silver for money. It's going to get so expensive, they'll quit using it for money. So, I mean, it's going to go beyond the price of gold, and they'll quit using it for money. But that's for a period of time. You know, and we're kind of getting into a little off here. And so, does anybody have any more questions about the statement of original status? This is the pedigree chart, and I've got, I have quite a few ancestors here, and I basically, my mother did a bunch of genealogy, and so she went and come up with all this. Somebody had a question back there?
I did. I noticed you use legal and lawful interchangeably. Are they the same, or when would you use legal and when would you use lawful?
Legal has to do with the contract, and lawful means the law. So I don't use those interchangeably for sure.
Well, I noticed that you used in that document down below the pedigree, you were reading there a while ago, legal, something legal, and it was talking about what sounded like lawful subjects.
I'll have to look and see. That's an interesting point.
It seemed to me like lawful should have been used there instead of legal.
Well, let's see.
Might have been in the yellow text. You were reading that a while ago.
Actually, the last place it's used is right here, so it wouldn't be in this yellow text anywhere. Maybe I read it wrong. So it wouldn't be in there because it's not highlighted. It shows up 13 times in this document, and the last time is right here in this court citation. Yeah.
So the procedure for this is you just like present it to
If
court?
you get it recorded, you record your corporate denial affidavit in the county. And once you get it recorded, then if they ever do anything, if you ever become involved in some controversy, then you make an affidavit and you attach the affidavit as evidence. Okay, and then you file the affidavit like a notice of void judgment. Okay, if you look at my notice of void judgment, it's let me see. I think it's done in affidavit format, but let me look. Yeah, it's done in affidavit format because I got it notarized. So I did it in affidavit format, so I'll file a document into the case in affidavit format, notice of void judgment, in affidavit format, and I attach my evidence to the affidavit, and it's talked about in here, and I always say, I'll have a little statement in here, a true copy of which is attached here too, all of which is incorporated herein by reference in its entirety. I always have that little statement I put in there. But with the corporate denial affidavit, I'll say that's the unrebutted truth and public policy, because it is. It's been recorded for 10 years, or 8 years, and nobody's rebutted it, so it's the unrebutted truth and public policy. After 30 days, it becomes public policy. See what I'm saying?
Can you use that to attack a former case where you've been prosecuted by the federal government?
Absolutely.
So what you do
So
just
file
go
a
ahead
notice
and
of void
file a
judgment.
case for
I would file.
void
I would,
judgment or a challenge jurisdiction, and then bring this in as evidence that they failed to have jurisdiction.
if they don't have jurisdiction, then the judgment is void by definition. See,
Right, so it's a letter saying that, that's
So
all
that
we need.
you can attach
court cases that talk about it.
Exactly.
you can attack the former case by filing a notice
File
of
a-
void judgment.
What you do is the same thing, okay? This corporate denial affidavit is like the silver bullet. You record that thing into the county, any county, doesn't matter where, any county. And once it's recorded, then you can use it, you can attach that recorded document into any affidavit and file it into any case, a notice of void judgment. And here's why it's void, because I'm not a corporation. Because your oath of office is to me. You see what I'm saying?
Sounds good.
You file it into any case, and I don't care how old it is, it's still void. Void judgments, you read the court cases about void judgments. There's no time limit.
So would you be able to bring litigation against them for false judgment, for
No.
false imprisonment? Or
No,
false-
and you're gonna have to bring litigation against them with their barman buddies. Now, you could bring it if you can, like he's trying to convene common law juries, and so then you could convene a common law jury, and definitely you could bring it then, and that would hurt them in a major way, because they have no authority over a common law jury.
See, we never, what we never knew about was the original status, right? But we never thought about recording it at the time.
Well, I recorded a document into the
That's
county
powerful.
record stating that I was a beneficiary of my posterity, and my parents were, or my,
You're using commercial words. Beneficiary is a commercial word. You gotta
I'm
be
not sure
careful
I was a
about that.
beneficiary, but I put in there that my parents were here before the Constitution was written, and all the way down to myself, and that we fought the revolution and beat.
Is it in the form of an affidavit?
Yes.
Okay.
And
Well, I'd have
the
to see it.
prosecutor had that in his hand whenever he was prosecuting me, but they never apparently did not take cognizance of it.
Well, it's comes down to, it's after 9, so we gotta stop. But let's talk about that tomorrow. I'd have to look at it. I would suspect that, again, you got to, huh?
It may be flawed.
Well, his conviction certainly would be flawed, but anytime you gotta recognize that what's going on and start filing bar complaints and start inviting his boss into it. You see what I'm saying? They all have a boss, whether it's the state bar or somebody, there's always a boss.
Well, he was federal.
Whatever. So, but federals still have state bar. They have bar licenses, and they're all in the states. So you can still file a bar complaint against them.
Everything ties into state law.
And his boss is the attorney, the U.S. attorney, and the attorney general. They all have a boss.
Be interesting to send this to Bill Barr.
Well, no joke. There's corruption. So anyways, we gotta go.